So here's a problem I want to look at. E to the power of x plus 1 over e to the power x minus 2 is equal to 0. Now we have a problem like this. Well, the most efficient way to go about this problem is to use substitution. So we use substitution so we can let e to the x be equal to y. And then we substitute it into this equation here. So we replace e to the x with y, and therefore we end up with y plus 1 over y. So remember, we are replacing e to the x with y. Minus 2 is equal to 0. So we have a situation where we have fraction, and just like in solving any equation, you want to get rid of the denominator here, so we can multiply each term. By whatever the denominator is, and that's y. So if we multiply each term by y, so y times y, we get y squared. So let me just show it here, show the working here. So multiply this term by y, this term by y, this term by y, and y times 0. Good? So we end up with y times y is y squared. Y times 1 over y, then that would be 1, right? Y into y here, so that would be 1. And then y times 2, that's minus 2y. Y times 0, well, 0 times any value is 0, right? Separate that. So notice we end up with a quadratic, which is what we end up with most times when we're doing this type of problem. So we have y squared minus 2y, and we have I'll put the constant last, the positive one. And we also have a quadratic. Of course, we can use either, well, many methods: factorization, completing a square. We can use a quadratic formula. I'll be using factorization, right? So we can notice this is what we call a perfect square. So if I factorize, I will end up with that y minus 1 times itself. Or you say y minus 1 all square. Good? So notice we equate the bracket to 0. Well, both brackets are the same thing. So hence we have y equal to 1. Now remember, we're not solving for y. Now remember, this was the original question. This was the original equation we were given. So we are not finished until we solve for x. So we haven't found x as yet. So if y is equal to 1, recall that e to the x is equal to y. Alright, recall that e to the x is equal to y. And we have y to be 1, so which means e to x equal to y. But y is equal to 1, so e to x is equal to 1. Alright, so we can log both sides. So we'll take the log of both sides. Alright, so we'll log the left hand side, log the right hand side. And then remember this rule in logarithm, the power can always come to the front here. So we'll end up with x times ln e is equal to ln 1. Now, what's the value of ln e? The value of ln e is 1. So it's really x times 1, which is x. And then what's the value of ln 1? The value of ln 1 is 0. So the solution to this problem, x is equal to 0. And notice you can always test your solution. Here was the original problem. So we're claiming that the value of x is equal to 0. Now, if x is equal to 0, then what is the value of e to 0? E to 0 would be 1. Right? If x is equal to 0, the denominator here would also be 1, because e to 0 is 1. So it's 1 over 1. So we end up with 1 plus 1. So this value is 1. This value is 1. So we have 1 plus 1, which is 2. 2 take away 2 is equal to 0. So it satisfies the equation. So you can always test your solution in that way.